Hello, and welcome to the BMC Quick Course Series. My name is Sam Antone, and I'm a Principal Software Consultant based in Southern California. NGT Utility Manager contains three tables to help control and automate customers' reorgs, copies, and stats executions. As an overview, the three tables are the exception table, schedule table, and the criteria table. The exception table allows customers to include or exclude objects from being triggered for execution. The schedule table is used to identify time periods where utilities should and should not run. For example, you may want to prevent any utilities from executing during business hours. The criteria table contains customizable rows with thresholds to allow the utilities to determine if maintenance should be executed on specific objects. We'll go into more detail later in this presentation. Although the three tables used by Utility Manager are basic DB2 tables and can be updated using several tools, the BMC preferred method is to use Workbench. When you open Workbench and create a new workspace, you may only see the 5 basic tabs at the top of the screen. Click the layout icon on the right upper hand corner of the screen to display more options. Select the Product Tools option and click OK. Pull down the Add arrow and select Add NGT Utility Management View. Workbench will list all the DB2s that are available. Select the desired subsystem and click OK. By default, when you install Utility Manager, 2 rows will be included in the table. These are default entries, one for the criteria for the table spaces and the other for the index spaces. You could select the drop-down Add arrow and create a more specific entry for your application. However, an easier way is to copy one of the existing entries that contains the majority of the default thresholds. Select the desired row and click the Copy Criteria icon. Modify the name pattern for the desired object. You may also limit the entry to specific partitions by specifying partition numbers in the partition box. You can also specify a comment as a description for this entry. When finished, click OK. While the line you entered is still highlighted, click on the Edit icon to modify this entry. The first option on the new window will be to check for previous reorgs. Specifying Y from the pull-down menu will direct the reorg job to check for any previous reorgs. If the object had not been reorged in the past, a reorg will be performed. The B option is similar, but it will check for both a previous reorg or a load replace. The default is option N, which skips the check. The rest of this window will provide all the thresholds necessary to trigger utilities. By hovering over each description or value, a small pop-up window will list the formula used for this threshold. Notice also at the bottom of each description, Utility Manager provides a recommendation based on IBM's recommendation. As you page down through this window, copy thresholds will be displayed. Edit these thresholds as you see fit for your shop. The last utility in this window is for stats. Similar to the option we had for reorgs, there is a check for statistics. If no statistics have been run on an object, this will direct NGT stats to be run and populate the catalog. After editing all these thresholds, to meet your shop standards, click OK to exit. At this point, we've created the criteria but have not actually saved it to the criteria table. The plus sign in front of the row we just added is the indication that this information has not been saved yet. By clicking the Save icon at the top of the screen, we'll update the DB2 table and the threshold will be saved. Notice that the plus sign in front of our row has now disappeared. Next, we need to enter a range of time in the schedule when we want to ensure that no utilities will be run. Click on the Schedule tab. Click the plus sign to add a new schedule. Similar to what we did to create a criteria entry, we will specify the same information here for the schedule. Once you enter the name pattern, partition, and comment, click on the Schedule tab. Check all the utilities you'd like to be affected by this rule. In this example, I checked all three utilities: reorg, copy, and stats. The pull-down menu provides you the choice whether this rule will be an include or exclude the objects from processing. We will select exclude. Next, you have the choice of selecting this rule to be for a specific day in the month or choose a weekly pattern. In our example, we'll select weekly. From the pull-down menu under Weekly, we have the choice of every day or a specific day of the week. We will select every day. Next, we set the time desired. In our example, we selected to make sure the utilities are not run between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m., our normal business hours. Once satisfied, click OK. Just as we had with the criteria entry, we have the plus sign in front of the schedule entry, which indicates that this row had not been saved to the DB2 table. Click the Save Changes icon to save the schedule. So far, we've set up the criteria for the table spaces for our database as well as a schedule for that same database. The same method should be used to set up the criteria and schedule for the index spaces. BMC understands that many of our customers run multiple subsystems. Having to go through these same procedures multiple times is tedious and time-consuming. To resolve this issue, Workbench provides the option to deploy these settings to other subsystems. In this example, we'll work with the criteria, but the same could be done for the schedule. Highlight all the rows which you'd like to move. In this example, we highlighted all the rows currently in the table in subsystem DIA. Click on the Deploy Criteria icon. Workbench will provide a list of all the subsystems available. In this example, we selected DJJ. However, you could select multiple subsystems if you desire. When ready, hit Next. Workbench recognizes that two of the rows already exist in the target subsystem. Notice in the action column, the first two entries, which are the default entries, already exist and they are marked as overrides. If we continue with this action, we will override the existing rows in DJJ. The third row is an add, which means it does not exist in the target subsystem and we'll be adding it. I have chosen not to override the existing rows by unchecking the preceding boxes to the default rows. Select Next when done. Workbench will provide a small report to indicate that one row will be added to the DJJ table. Click Finish. Invoking Utility Manager in your NGT utilities is very simple and easy. Just add the RTS keyword to your existing NGT utility sysin, reorg in this case, and you have now automated the reorg process for your application. In this example, all the table spaces in the database SPA PADBW will be reorganized if their DB2 real-time stats indicate the object needs reorganization. By specifying report only, the same criteria is checked, but no reorgs will be executed. However, a report will be produced to indicate which objects would have been reorged and why, as well as which ones will be bypassed and why. The first report indicates these 6 objects will be reorganized based on the ratio between the space allocated and the space used, matches or exceeds our thresholds. These objects will be skipped or excluded because of the reasons indicated. Similar reports are provided for all the indices in the database. Thank you for your time. For more information on any BMC mainframe product, please visit the URL shown here.